Good afternoon and welcome to day 15. Can you believe it? It's actually day 15. That's amazing. We've come a long way. We're in the final stretch. This is going to be really, really exciting for those joining us on Facebook Live. Welcome. Make sure you put your comments in there. I will try and monitor it as much as I can. I will be monitoring the chat as well. My voice may sound a little groggy today is because I'm fighting this bad cold that I've ended up with. And so I have my water, and today's topic is limiting beliefs. And it's really interesting because for the longest time I said, okay, I got to cancel this. I can't speak. I can't do this. And then I realized what I was doing. And how appropriate is it that we're going to talk about limiting beliefs today? So today we're going to go through this. There's a lot of information. Hey, Nasreen, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. Excellent. Thank you for joining.
No problem.
Yeah, all right. So we're going to go through this really quickly because there's a lot of stuff to cover. This is a deep talk. But really what's happening is that everything that we've built up so far actually is accumulating to what we're going to talk about today. So let's look at this triangle, right? We talked about feelings, thoughts, and actions, and we've been talking about it for the last 3 days. Your thoughts creates a feeling, which creates an action, which then creates thoughts. And now we're adding one more component to it, is that this is where the drama happens. This is where your mind starts telling you stories and you start believing those stories. And I've been suggesting for a couple of days now that we can think about that it's actually not just thoughts feeling actions, is that actions can really can create feelings, which will create thoughts. Actions can create thoughts that creates feelings. And so can we go from action to from thought to action, and then you have your positive feeling. So you can see that if you have a thought that creates a negative feeling, that will create a negative action. On the other end, if you have a thought that creates a positive action, that creates a positive feeling, then you have a positive thought. And so we need to be able to evaluate and repurpose this. And we've talked about a number of different ways that we can do this. Yesterday, we talked about the 4 questions. The day before, we talked about first principles. Those are both really good mechanisms of doing it. And today we'll dive a little deeper of why those are really important to ask. So let's go with the definition of belief. What does belief mean? In simple words, is an acceptance that a statement is either true or that something exists. Now, I would say that a belief is actually an attitude that something is the case or that some proposition about the world is true. Philosophers use the term belief to refer to actually attitudes about the world, which can be either true or false. A belief is something that we consider to be a fact. It doesn't necessarily have to be true or false. It's what we believe to be a fact. My wife often tells me is that sometimes I'm so convincing that even if it's not true, I make it true. But that's because my belief is strong in that particular aspect, right? So it is anything that we assume to be true. And they're usually formed in 2 ways, either by our experiences or by accepting what others have told us. Now, usually it is people in authority or people that we have trust with. So it could be our parents, it could be our mentors, it could be our teachers, it could be our colleagues. Most of our core beliefs are actually formed when we are children. And so we use these beliefs to actually keep us safe. That is why we generally try to preserve our beliefs even after they're formed, and we guard them really carefully. So once we have a belief, we have a really tough time letting go of it. And so if we add belief into this triangle that we saw, then we see that our thoughts actually create feelings, which leads to actions, which leads to results. And those results will either build upon our beliefs or break those beliefs, right? What we believe influences what we think. And so we're now going one step back. We're saying it doesn't start at the thought, it actually starts at the belief. So what we believe influences what we think, which then influences how we feel, which then influences what we do, and that will reflect on our results, which then will either enforce our belief or break that belief, right? So Think, feel, do, results, believe. Think, feel, do, results, believe. Now, I propose that we have so many different options of actually changing that for us, right? We can, we have opportunities at any cycle to be able to change that particular thought, feeling, action, result. And therefore, we change our belief. And I've said that before, we always have a choice. If you look at things at microseconds, then what's your choice right now? If you don't like that choice, make another choice. Be open to changing. When you know what is not serving you well, it will change what you understand. So therefore, it becomes really important what thoughts we express. So often we say, you know what, if you can't say something good, don't say it at all. But don't be that person who misses an opportunity to say something, especially to yourself. Feelings are temporary and rarely fully matched with our perspective. Is your glass half empty or half full? I gave this example of the sky, right? The sky remains the same. It's whether the clouds are covering the sun, whether the sun is coming out or whether the moon's coming out. The sky does not change. What we look at changes. So are we looking at the moon? Are we looking at the star? Are we looking at the clouds? Are we looking at rain? Are we looking at good weather, bad weather, whatever it is? For somebody who is a farmer and needs rain, when it's raining, it's absolutely beautiful. But for somebody who wants to go on a picnic, that same weather will be terrible weather. So what is your belief there? What is your thought there? What are the results that you're asking for? We have absolute control over how we choose to respond what is in front of us. The key is to understand that we have very little control over others. Full control over ourselves, limited control over others. Take charge of what you do. Make sure it serves you. Sometimes it's as simple as not missing an opportunity. Sometimes it's just taking that opportunity. Results are most often results of choices we make. You want different results, make different choices. Your beliefs are often a product of what you come to understand based on what you know. Remember, we are taking past experiences, things that have been told to us by our parents, by our mentors, by our teachers. What we know today is gathered from our experience. What we know tomorrow is based on our experience today. You may not be able to change the experience of the past, but the present is a gift for you to be able to change that experience. And that's why you have a choice. Often we say, you are the average of the 5 people that you surround with. You want to change your beliefs. You want to change how you think, change the people that you surround yourself with. Want better results? Do what other people are doing that are getting the same results you want. Do not cling to your beliefs. They do not serve you well. So pick one area of this circle. Beliefs, thoughts, feelings, actions, results. Make a change and start moving in the desirable section. If you change your thought, your feelings will change. If I have a thought, for instance, that I'm sad, how am I going to feel?
Sad.
And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to maybe just procrastinate and sit back. Like today, I'm feeling a little under the weather. Now I could say, you know what, I'm sick. That's my thought. So I'm going to feel like, oh my goodness, I'm not well. So I feel sad. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, I better just rest. And my results are going to be that I'm not going to be able to get work done. And so my beliefs is going to change, saying that, you know what, I didn't do any work today and I'm not productive. So my belief becomes I'm not productive, and that ends up over a period of time becoming a real belief if it continues for a long period of time. If it's for a short period of time and you understand that and you process it, it's okay. But if I keep on doing that, I'm not well, then your feeling is going to be like, okay, you know what, this is terrible. I'm not in a good health. I'm not feeling well. Your actions are going to be not to do anything. Your results are you're not producing. Maybe your body starts going into atrophy. You're not feeling well. People around you start not feeling well. So they start talking the same language. and that becomes a belief that you're not well. And just changing one of those can change everything. Really, really powerful, right? So let's look at the definition of what a limiting belief is, because we covered what beliefs are. Now let's look at limiting beliefs. A limiting belief is actually a judgment about yourself that you think to be true that restricts you in some way. Your thoughts, if you think of them over and over and assign a truth value to them, that becomes a belief. If it's one that is for your higher self and that lifts you up, it's a positive belief. If it's pulling you down, it becomes your prison sentence that we talked about. Belief creates a lens through which you interpret the events of the world and the life that you live. So you have a choice of the filter that you pick. Because if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at will change. Limiting beliefs can be about you, can be about interactions with other people, right? We have some people that we meet consistently, and without knowing what it is, we're already going to judgment about them because that's the belief we have. So if somebody tells you that John is not a good person, next time you meet John, whether you know him or not, you already have that belief about him. Because if somebody trusted told you that John wasn't good, no matter what John does, John's not going to be good. So they stop you from making choices and taking opportunities. They stop you from reaching your highest potential. Unfortunately, limiting beliefs are what keep us stuck and negative in a mind state that takes us from setback to setback. So if you want to come out from setback and go into triumph, one of the key factors is limiting beliefs. I'm not sure if you guys have seen this before, right? But I'm a plant lover. I have tons of plants, and in the summertime, I grow tons of plants. And my wife actually makes fun of me. But how often do you speak to your plants? And did you know that this is proven that if you actually talk to, if you have 3 plants, let me ask you this question. If you have 3 plants and you actually talk to one, you actually, sorry, let's put it this way. You talk really nicely to one, you talk really badly to the other one, and you don't talk to the third one at all. Which one do you think is going to grow the worst?
One with the negative information.
One with negative information. What do you think, Nasreen?
Same thing, the one you don't talk to.
So
And
that's 2 different things.
yes.
So Sophia said the one that you talk negative to.
Yes,
So is that the one you're saying, or you're saying the one that you don't talk to?
both. I'm saying don't talk to into the negative one.
Okay. Actually, of the 3, the one that doesn't grow at all well is the one that you don't talk to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The one that you actually talk negatively will actually grow, not as well as the one that you talk positively to. Here, let me give you an example. If you guys have children, then you will understand this.
Yeah.
If your child walks out, going out with a torn shirt, you're actually going to scream and yell at them and say, you can't go out there. That's not how we go out.
Yes.
Yet you see a child on the street that may be with torn shirt, and you may not take any action. The fact that you're telling your child that they can't go out with a torn shirt or torn pants is because you care.
Mm-hmm.
So that is even more important. So language, any form becomes important, and it's in the perspective that you're doing it with. So when you remember, fear and love cannot reside at the same time. So when you even have language, but you do it out of love, it changes everything.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Think of it this way, right? Weeds will take over any seed.
Yes, true.
Right? So when you have limiting beliefs or negative thoughts, they actually overpower your thoughts over anything else. And unfortunately, those negative thoughts require actually very little attention or effort. So the problem is that when you start even talking negative to your plants, it grows well. And think about it this way, even a negative impact has on the plant. So unlike positive thoughts, negative thoughts will grow out like weeds.
Mhm.
You look at our media, what sells? Gossip, negative news, what's going out in the world that's terrible,
Yeah.
right? Positive news has a short cycle. Negative news has a long cycle. And it's the same thing that our mind is used to, right? The other experiment that's really similar to the one on the plants is, the rice experiment or the water experiment, right? You put rice and water and you put a jar with I love you versus I hate you. It actually changes totally the structure and the crystals and the formation of the water that's in there. And so one becomes edible, the other actually is unedible. So those sorry, go ahead, Sophia.
Oh, I was agreeing.
Yeah,
It-
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so when you change your words and what you pick becomes really, really true. One of my mentors used to tell me at one point is that you got to be really careful with your words. And the mentor said to me is that, there is a small window that the universe opens. And you don't know when that window is being opened.
Mhm.
And when you say your words, if it happens to be at that same moment time, you either get what you're asking for or you get what you don't want.
Yeah.
So can we not just look at saying, we're going to change our vocabulary? Because the challenge becomes is that our beliefs have come from our family. So growing up, your parents likely had morals and values that they tried to instill in you. Your education, the teachers that you work with, and your experiences. So when we classify something, we take that experience that we've had in the past and then put it as good or bad experience. And it then affects how we experience everything going forward. So you put an experience that you've had and you say it's bad and you build on it, it just keeps on growing. Let me give you a story about how elephants are trained. The first trick an elephant trainer uses to train an elephant to not escape is that when the elephant is still a baby, the trainer actually chains the infant's leg to a huge log or a huge tree. So when the elephant tries to escape, the log proves stronger, and so eventually the elephant gives up. Now, as the elephant grows, the elephant is so used to that captivity and is now built into his mind that I am not as strong as the log or the tree. So even when it goes stronger and huge and has much more strength, the trainer merely has to tie the chain around the elephant's leg and do nothing. And it now becomes a prisoner of its past. So tying that sentence that we talked about in our 5th or 6th session about what is your prison sentence? Unfortunately, these things that we tie ourselves into and give it so much validity becomes our limiting belief, which becomes our prison sentence. So a small twig even will stop us from becoming what we were or we could be. Your pain, your struggles, your challenges and limitations are your past that we attach ourselves to. We have an affinity to it. And so nothing in our past is in your present except your limiting beliefs. Here's what I invite you to do. You are not your past history. You are not your past actions. You are not how others have treated you in the past. You're only who you think you are in this moment. You are only what you do right now in this particular moment. The victim that we play will just become stronger with our limiting beliefs if we hold on to that. The biggest challenge is letting go of those past experiences because we believe those define us, but they don't, right? And so Marisa Peer says that these are the 3 most common beliefs that affect everybody. I'm not enough. It's not available. I'm different. So we actually use that to our advantage. I'm not enough. I'm not available. I'm different. And can we change that to say that difference is actually a positive? That I'm not available means that I am actually available to more people. I'm not enough. I'm more than enough. Remember, we talked about switching that word yesterday. Change whatever's coming to your mind. Is it true you're not enough? If it is, can you prove it? And what happens when you actually turn that sentence around? What feels lighter for you? When you're in allowance, things flow towards you. When you're in resistance, things deflect away from you. I'm going to skip this one. And so I invite you, this is how we overcome limiting beliefs. And we'll cover this in the next few days a little more in terms of exactly what we need to do. But I invite you to start doing this. Identify and write your beliefs. When we write our beliefs, rather than just having them in our mind, we're actually putting validity to them, and then use the two techniques that we talked about a couple of days ago, the first principle and also the 4 questions. Assess the accuracy. Is it true? And then start using positive affirmations, which we talked about is turning the thing whole around. And I invite you, just before you're giving up, that's when things are switching. So don't give up, because you just as you get to it, unfortunately, we lock our doors to change. And so when we bring positive thinking, what we think determines what we believe determines how we feel, what we feel influences how we're going, and you can't live a positive life with a negative mind. So we need to change that mind, we need to change that thought, and when we do that, that full cycle changes for us, and we start moving from setback to triumph. I do apologize that I have gone over again, but I hope you guys had a good session, that you got a few things out of it. If you can comment what you got out of it, what your limiting beliefs are, and what you're going to do to turn those around, that would be great. Tomorrow, we talk about how you occur. Remember the first thing, the 3 things that Maurice up here talks about. The first one is, I'm not enough. Well, let's change that. How you occur is really, really important. I thank you for joining me today. Please put your comments on the Facebook group or in any of the other areas that you see the posts. Invite your friends. We are almost towards the end. One more week. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hope
Bye.
you